If you have ever stood in front of your clematis with a pair of pruners and you did not know whether to cut it back to the ground, cut it halfway, or barely touch it at all, you are not alone. Clematis is the most confusing plant to prune in the American garden. It has 3 completely different pruning rules, and using the wrong rule on the wrong plant is the single biggest reason your clematis is not blooming the way it should. Here is the frustrating part: every article you read tells you the same 3 words: type 1, type 2, type 3, and then it stops. It does not tell you which type you actually have, which is the entire question you came to answer. In the next few minutes that ends, you will learn the 3 clematis types in plain English. You will learn the one simple trick near the middle of this video that tells you exactly which type you have in under 10 seconds without a plant tag, without a nursery label, without any research. And you will learn the exact pruning method for each type so that whatever clematis is climbing your fence or your trellis, you will know exactly what to do this year, next year, and every year after. Stay with me. Why the wrong prune costs you everything. Before we get to the types, you need to know what happens when you get it wrong. If you cut a type 1 clematis in late winter thinking you were being helpful, you have just cut off every single flower it would have produced this spring. Not some of them, all of them. And you will not get any more that year because type 1 clematis only blooms on wood it grew last summer. If you leave a type 3 clematis alone thinking you are being gentle, it will grow into a woody tangle with all of its flowers stranded at the top of the trellis 12 feet in the air. You get a bald plant for 11 feet and a small burst of flowers at the top that you can barely see. And if you cut a type 2 clematis all the way to the ground, thinking that is how you handle vines, you have just given up the first and biggest flush of flowers you were supposed to get in late spring. You will get a smaller second flush in late summer if you are lucky, but the show is gone. Wrong prune, wrong plant, wrong month. Every year, thousands of clematis stop blooming for exactly this reason. Now let's fix it. The 3 types in plain English. Every clematis in the world falls into one of 3 pruning groups, and the difference between them comes down to one thing: when the plant makes its flowers. Type 1. These are the early bloomers. They flower in March, April, or May. Their flowers form on last year's wood. That means everything you see in spring is coming from stems the plant grew during the previous summer. If you cut those stems, you cut off this year's show. Type 2. These are the double bloomers. They flower twice a year. A big first flush in late spring on last year's wood and a second smaller flush in late summer on this year's new wood. They give you the longest bloom season of any clematis. But they also have the most complicated pruning needs. Type 3. These are the late bloomers. They flower from midsummer through fall. They flower only on brand new wood stems the plant grows this spring. Everything from last year is going to be dormant, unproductive, and structurally in the way. These plants want to be cut hard every year. 3 types, 3 rules, and the whole system depends on knowing which type you actually have. Which brings us to the trick. The 10-second identification trick, the peak. Here's the trick I promised you. You do not need a plant tag, you do not need a nursery label, you do not need to know the cultivar name, you do not even need to know when you planted it. You need one piece of information, and one only. When did your clematis bloom this year? That is the entire test. If your clematis bloomed in March, April, or the first 2 weeks of May and then stopped, it is type 1. If your clematis bloomed in late May or early June, took a break through the middle of summer, then bloomed again in August, it is type 2. If your clematis did not start blooming until late June or July and kept blooming through August and September, it is type 3. That is it. That is the whole identification system. 3 bloom windows, 3 types, 1 clear answer. Now, if your clematis did not bloom at all this year, or bloomed weakly, or only produced a handful of flowers at the very top of the vine, you almost certainly have a type 3 that was never pruned properly. Type 3 is the most common clematis sold in America, and it is the type most gardeners get wrong. So make a note right now, ask yourself which month your clematis bloomed, write it down, because that answer determines everything you do next. Type 1, do almost nothing. If you have type 1, the rule is the easiest of the 3. Do almost nothing. Type 1 clematis needs 1 light shaping per year and only after the flowers have finished. That means in late May or early June, once every bloom has faded, take a small pair of pruners, walk the plant. Cut out any stems that are clearly dead, Cut back any stems that are too long or growing where you do not want them. That is the entire annual maintenance. Do not cut heavily, do not cut in winter, do not cut in early spring. If you do, you remove the wood that would have produced next year's flowers because type 1 starts forming its buds on this year's new growth as soon as it finishes blooming. The single biggest mistake with type 1 clematis is treating it like a normal plant. It is not. It rewards laziness. The less you touch it, the more it blooms. Type 2 light pruning late winter. If you have type 2, the rule is more precise but still simple. In late winter or early spring before new growth begins, walk to the plant. Look closely at every stem. You are looking for two things: dead stems which you cut out completely at the base, and live stems which will show fat, plump buds along their length. Take the live stems one at a time, follow each one down until you find a healthy pair of fat buds. Cut just above that pair. That is the entire technique for type 2. Shape only, never cut everything back to the ground, never take a stem down below a pair of live buds. If you do it correctly, your first flush will explode in May or early June from last year's wood, and a second flush will follow in August on the new growth that came from your careful cuts. Type 2 clematis done right is the longest blooming vine you can grow. Done wrong, it is the shortest. Type 3 cut it almost to the ground. If you have type 3, the rule is the most dramatic, and it is the one that scares gardeners the most. Every year in late winter or very early spring, cut every single stem down to 12 to 18 inches from the ground. Not shape, not shorten, cut all the way down. I know this looks brutal, I know it looks like you are destroying the plant. You are not. Type 3 clematis blooms only on new wood. The stems from last year will not flower again. If you leave them, you get a woody skeleton with a few flowers stranded at the top. If you cut them off, the plant sends up fresh new growth from the base in spring, and that fresh growth produces dozens of flowers from head to base. The plant grows back faster than you would believe. By June, it is already covered in leaves. By July, it is flowering. By September, it is one of the most spectacular plants in your garden. Cut it low, trust the plant. Do not skip a year or the wood becomes too thick and the base stops sending up new shoots. The hidden truth all three types share. Now, no matter which type you have, there is one universal truth that almost no one tells you. And ignoring it is the reason that even correctly pruned clematis sometimes fails. Clematis needs cool roots and warm tops. The vine wants sunlight on its leaves and flowers, but the roots must stay cool and shaded. If the base of the plant sits in hot, exposed soil through the summer, the roots stress. The plant produces fewer flowers, no matter how well you pruned. The fix takes 10 minutes and lasts all year. At the base of your clematis, keep a 2-inch layer of mulch or place a small flat stone directly over the root zone. Alternatively, plant a low, leafy perennial like a heuchera or a hosta right in front of the base to shade the soil. Do this once and every prune you make from now on works twice as hard, because you have finally given the plant the second half of what it has always needed. So there it is. Ask when your clematis bloomed, that answer tells you the type. Type 1, do almost nothing. Type 2, light shaping in late winter above a pair of fat buds. Type 3, cut it low and let it come back. And whatever type you have, mulch the base or shade the roots. Do this correctly and next summer your clematis will produce more flowers than you thought a single vine could hold. It will climb higher, bloom longer, and reward you every day it is in season. The confusion is over, the rules are simple, you just needed the right key. We'll see you in the next one.